Hey y'all, it's your girl Sunny C, and I am back actually with something a bit different. I figure in the spirit of Halloween and trying out new content to take my shot at telling you guys about a real life quote unquote exorcism. Big quotes on that one. I don't know how I feel about this story. This is the case of Anneliese Michel, and she is the real life victim who inspired the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
I don't care about my reputation. What I care about is telling Emily Rose's story.
Holy Church venerates thee as her guardian and protector. To thee, the Lord has entrusted the souls of the redeemed to be led into heaven. Pray therefore the God of peace to crush Satan beneath our feet, that we may no longer retain man's captivity.
Do you understand how long they can put you away for this?
I want...
So she believed that her actual possession began that night at the hospital?
I think she did.
Emily had epilepsy. Father Moore's beliefs are based on superstition.
Did Father Moore ask you to give her any medical help?
I couldn't help her.
Why couldn't you help her?
Because there are no injections against the devil.
Emily? Hey, can you hear me?
Demons exist, whether you believe in them or not. Just be careful, Aaron. There are... It has begun.
For the glory of God.
Which I actually did have on DVD way back when those things were like actual household items. And it actually scared the shit out of me. I mean, I was like 12, so that makes sense, but researching the real life story, I gotta say, it was honestly no better. It didn't scare the shit out of me, but it did make me feel a bit uneasy, and I ain't like it. Anyway, guys, enough rambling. I want to get into this SpookyyCyph thing I got planned for y'all, and let me know if you like it. Disclaimer: this episode involves demons and scary shit with video clips involved, so maybe not good for the kiddos. And for all you kids on YouTube lying about your age, don't get my channel flagged if you have a nightmare tonight. Anneliese Michel was born in 1952 in the small village of Klingenberg in Bavaria, Germany. I couldn't find much about her childhood or upbringing. All that I could really find and what was agreed upon about her was that she had a really strict Catholic upbringing, and she was described as a very cheery, likable, bubbly person. At the age of 16, sometime in September 1968, she, for the first time of what would become many, lost consciousness. Also telling family members she felt the quote-unquote spirit pressing down on her bed later that same night. The next event would happen in August of 1969, almost a year later. Anneliese lost consciousness again, prompting her mother to finally take her to the family doctor, Dr. Watt. Y'all are gonna have to excuse me because I'm gonna butcher these German names. I'm trying my best though. I'm not being disrespectful, but this shit's hard. But Dr. Watt, we'll call him. And with the help of a neurologist, Dr. Luthi, they ran brain scans and found nothing wrong. With that, they came to the conclusion that it may possibly be a form of seizures. So with their faith and most accurate diagnosis that they could get at the time, they tried to get their life back to normal, the family. But over the next 3 years, Anneliese would have 2 more similar spells of unconsciousness, which EEGs, brain scans, or EEGs for short, they just couldn't explain. For these episodes, they prescribed her an anti-convulsion medication and an anti-seizure medication. By spring of 1973, Anneliese had been battling this unknown illness for about 5 years now with no improvement. In fact, things took a turn for the worse. She began to hear knocking in her bedroom, and the weirdest part of this all was that her sisters also claimed to hear the same knocking. Her mother reportedly caught her just standing and staring at a picture of the Virgin Mary with, like, as the mother described, hate in her eyes, and her eyes completely black. And this part I don't know about, but the mother claimed that her hands resembled thick paws with like claws on the end. That's where you lost me, sis. Anneliese said she would also hear voices damning her to hell, like demon voices. She described telling the neurologist, Dr. Luthi, that demon faces were tormenting her and that she could constantly like smell this pungent smell of burnt feces. Which others around would also attest to smelling at times. I don't know why her and all her friends know what burnt feces smells like, but I'm gonna move past that one. So she was having some real life, quote unquote, symptoms. I mean, you can't deny this is not normal shit. So in that same session with Dr. Luthi, the neurologist, she exclaimed that she felt like the devil was, quote unquote, inside of her. Anneliese met with a Freudian psychiatrist. For those of you that don't know what a Freudian psychiatrist is, like I didn't when I first did this research, it's basically the branch of psychiatry concerned with psychological methods, and it brought forth the treatment of mental illness more so than the criminalization of it. And I took this straight off of Google. Don't at me, don't quote me, if that kind of helps you guys understand more. So in November 1973, she met with this psychiatrist who diagnosed her as a neurotic with possible epilepsy. To which another neurologist said she had epileptic patterns and took her off of the anti-seizure medicine and put her on a stronger drug called Tegretol, which is another anti-convulsant medicine, which is it's stronger, I'm guessing, from what the reports are saying. But I don't get why they would have her on two anti-convulsant medicines if the other medicine was already an anti-convulsion medicine. So that part just confused me, but I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. By July 1975, things had only gotten worse. She wasn't getting any sleep because she just wanted to pray all night. She destroyed rosaries and crucifixes and started some more feral behavior like eating spiders and flies and licking up her own urine. Yes. From accounts of others, she was doing inhumane things too, such as throwing her sister clean across the room with like crazy hawk-like strength and squeezing an apple in one hand until it exploded into bits all around the room. And like these are the parts where it's like, I don't know, bro, I gotta be there. Like that's just how I am. Like I don't know, it could just be super really unchecked case of mental illness, or there could be some crazy demon shit going on, but an apple, that's kind of thick. That's thick. I don't know. Now, at some point after the appointment with Dr. Luthi, when Anneliese said that the devil was quote-unquote inside of her, her mother claimed that Dr. Luthi advised her to seek religious counsel. Claims the doctor would later deny, which we'll get into at the end. So, fast forward to things getting progressively worse with Anneliese. Her mom is at her wit's end. She's like, I'm gonna try it, I guess. And we can't forget they were a super religious family to begin with, so it was probably making sense. So fast forward to now 1975, insert a priest named Father Roderick. Considered an expert on exorcisms by his peers, he was convinced after his analysis that Anneliese was possessed, and with approval from the bishop, an exorcism was approved to be carried out by a priest named Father Renz. And on September 24th, 1975, they began with the first exorcism rite. Father Renz allowed some of the sessions to be recorded, and 42 recordings were made in total. I'm gonna insert some into this part, and fair warning, they are a bit disturbing for the faint of heart. Like I said, I don't scare easily, and these shits, I don't know, they kind of have me shook up. It's a little weird.
Kirche hat ja nicht anerkannt.
Heiligen Geistes. Amen. Hier das Bach. Wann wird es anerkannt?
Wow, das haben wir nicht fertig gebraucht.
Sage die volle Wahrheit.
Ja!
Sage die volle Wahrheit.
Ja, ich höre nicht schlecht.
Des Sohnes und des Heiligen Geistes. Amen.
Hat die Kirche Himmelsbach verworfen?
Ja.
Hat die Kirche Himmelsbach verworfen?
Sie kennen es nicht an.
Hat sie es verworfen?
Sie erkennen es nicht an.
Hat sie es verworfen? Ich frage dich, sage die Wahrheit im Namen Jesu Marias. Hat die Kirche Himmelsbach verworfen? Hat die Kirche Himmelsbach verworfen? Sei die Wahrheit im Namen des dreieinigen Gottes. Im Namen Mariens.
Scheißloch.
Hat die Kirche Himmelsbach verworfen, sagt die Wahrheit. Im Namen Mariens, da er sie nicht genannt wird.
Das Scheißloch, das Verfluchte. Aber zum Glück ist es nicht anerkannt.
Wann wird es anerkannt?
So schnell noch nicht.
Aha, also doch.
Nein!
Sage die volle Wahrheit im Namen des Vaters und des Sohnes und des Heiligen Geistes. Amen. Sage die volle Wahrheit im Namen Jesu und im Namen Maria, im Namen des Vaters und des Sohnes und des Heiligen Geistes. Amen. Es wird also anerkannt werden. Amen.
Was fressest du das nicht?
Noch mehr.
Halt dir Maul! Ja, die Kirschbänke müssen wieder hinein! Scheißding. Ja! Die Mitte. So geschickt.
Noch mehr.
Die müssen als Priester erkennbar sein. Und zweimal kapiert.
Noch mehr.
Ja.
Noch mehr.
Heiraten dürfen sie auch nicht. Ein Auftrag von der. Ja!
Noch mehr sagen.
Und in die kirchlichen Dienst dürfen sie auch nicht mehr eintreten, wenn sie das gemacht haben.
Warum nicht?
Darum. Und es muss gebetet werden. Warum? In den Kirchen. Und in den Familien. Und vor allem den Scheißen. Ja! Sonst da schon nichts mehr, oder darfst der Gift drauf. Vergesse du der Sache wieder. Nein! Ich bin Nero!
Amen. Die Mutter Gottes wird dich dazu zwingen. Im Namen Jesu und im Namen Maria, im Namen des Vaters und des Sohnes und des Heiligen Geistes. Amen. Im Namen
Das ist die Abtreibung.
des Sohnes und des Heiligen Geistes. Amen. Sage alles. Alles. Im Namen des Vaters und des Sohnes und des Heiligen Geistes. Amen.
Und zwar egal, ab welchem Monat abgetrieben wird.
Das wissen wir alle. Du hast noch nicht alles gesagt. Du musst jetzt alles sagen.
Und zwar, dass die Dinge, die Embryos, nicht zur Anschauung Gottes gelangen. So.
Sage die Wahrheit.
Ja! Weil sie nicht getauft sind.
Wo kommen die Embryos hin, die nicht getauft sind? Nicht in die Hölle.
Nein.
Wohin?
Ja, die kommen auf.
Ja, wohin?
Dann auf.
Wohin denn?
Ja, das weiß, was kann ich nicht sagen.
In den Himmel.
Yeah, you can hear in the clip, she clearly does not sound normal. My opinion, I don't know if y'all will agree. I tend to think you might. Keep in mind, at this point, she's only about in her late teens, early 20s. So, I don't get why her voice sounds like she smokes 4 packs of cigarettes a day. That's the part that freaks me out, where it's like she sounds like a completely different person. So, I don't know how to feel about that one. Like I said, I don't spook easily. I love some true crime and I watch hella scary movies, but this one made me feel a bit weird. I did not like it. In one of the tapes that I actually didn't include, a possessed Anneliese exclaims that there are actually multiple demons inside of her. Judas, Nero, Cain, and Hitler. One thing that was truly freaky was that she also mentions Valentine Fleischmann as one of her demons, who was, in the 1500s, an actual Catholic priest who was exiled from the Catholic Church for quote-unquote bad behavior. Who knows what that was back then? It literally could have been anything. But the fact of the matter is, it was a real person, and it's somebody that she wouldn't have really known about. Hitler, I can understand because of the time, and he's Hitler in general, but unless you're really into the Catholic faith and deep into the study of old Catholicism, I doubt you know who the priests were in the 1500s who were exiled from the church and blah blah blah. So that was a really specific detail for her to know, which is kind of freaky. By May of 1976, despite the quote-unquote exorcisms, Anneliese's symptoms only got worse. At this time, becoming violent towards herself and others. She was noted saying her quote-unquote demons wouldn't allow her to eat. And only a month after that, Anneliese was so malnourished to the point of her face being sunken in. That's really sad. It was noted also that she started to decline doctor's visits even though she was running a very high fever. At this point, this girl has been through the ringer. Supernatural or not, she's starving, self-harming, and acting downright feral at times. And it's sad to know that she went through all of that, like, period. I don't care what it was, whether it was a ghosty or you know, mental illness. That's just really fucking sad to know that somebody had to go through all that. And it just sucks that, you know, she couldn't get the help that she needed before the inevitable.
Sacramentum Christum Terra, Tude Materium Sanguis, Acquia Sanctorum Sanctus Omnibus Infertor.
On June 30th, 1976, Anneliese had her last exorcism. Her only words being, "Please, absolution." The next morning, her parents came into her room and found her dead. She was 68 pounds and had been through 67 exorcisms at the young age of 23. The official cause of death was malnutrition and dehydration, but her autopsy also revealed she had fractured teeth, 2 black eyes, and bruises on her hands, arms, and wrists from being tied down for the priest to perform the exorcism. Basically, Anneliese's parents, and I guess herself, because she was an adult at the time, they chose to try to heal her illness with only her faith in God, which I know sounds crazy by today's standards, but we have to understand and we have to remember the 70s was the height of the quote-unquote satanic panic, and her family was super religious already, so it was just a bad... it just sucks that she could not get the help that she needs. But then again, I could see why possession was as feasible as an option as the common cold for her family, because of how religious they were and the people they had around them not, really helping, I don't think. All people involved faced charges for negligent homicide. The priest, Father Alt and Father Renz, were convicted of manslaughter and given 6 months in prison with suspended sentences. Anneliese's parents weren't convicted at all because the court believed they had been through enough. While many believe this case is a solid evidence of paranormal and demonic possession, most psychiatrists and mental health experts tend to believe it was an old school case of misdiagnosed mental illness. And honestly, I personally tend to lean more towards the logical psychiatrist's explanation on this one. I think Anneliese's first initial diagnosis of being neurotic was like a really good lean towards the right direction, but somewhere along the lines they got into this idea of possession and they got so caught up into it that they didn't have a chance to see if it could have been something like schizophrenia or some sort of personality disorder and actually get her the help that she needs. Anyway, guys, that wraps up this SpookyyCyph. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down below if you think this is a real case of demonic possession or if it's just another sad case of how poorly mental illness was treated back then. I mean, we always hear the horror stories about how horrible it was, and personally, as somebody that struggles with mental illness myself, I am very glad I'm born in the time I was, because Jesus, oh boy. Alright guys, I'm out of here. Deuces.